Hi everyone, I'm Dan Sullivan, and I'll go through ahead and give you an overview of cnHeat and our new features, including cnHeat Identify. So what we have here in this slide is basically how do we apply RF planning to optimize what we do in the wireless internet service provider industry. Like how do we make our operations and more efficient? How do we improve how we find customers, and how do we do that based on leading edge RF technology? And that's what cnHeat is all about. So we have three different products. The first one is called cnHeat Locate, and this is the name that we provided to our heat maps. So the heat maps you might be familiar with are now called cnHeat Locate. So you locate your subscriber. The next thing is in the United States, we can provide the locations and addresses that someone would want to target market their customers that they don't have. And so we call this cnHeat Identify, or identify your customers. And then the third thing we have here, and we're going to release this in a couple of weeks, and you can actually order it now. It's the part's set up. This is to allow a service provider to figure out where to place a new greenfield site. And so we call this cnHeat Optimize Your Greenfield Site Selection. cnHeat is based on 1 meter data, and we do that for the entire all the products. And so we have display resolution of 1 meter accuracy, and we do computation down to 1 meter to get highly accurate results. Okay, so what I want to do first is leave the presentation and take us to our cnHeat website, and anyone can go there. And what we have is you go to cnHeat.cambiumnetworks.com, and you can see a demo site. And this demo site is in Emporia, Kansas, and you use the account name of cnHeat and the password of demo. So let's go there right now. So I have cnHeat.cambiumnetworks.com already brought up. And here what we have is we have the account name. So I put in cnHeat, type in the password, which is demo, all in lowercase. And I hit return, and the heat maps come up. So what we have here is we have 3 towers, and then we have the new optimize feature, and I'll explain this later on in the presentation. What I'll do first is I'll hide the towers in the greenfield site optimization, and we'll look at tower 1. So tower 1 is here, and if I turn on the 1 foot heat map, what you see is you see a heat map come up around the tower, and there's also a 10 foot heat map, and the heat map will expand in scope and coverage. Let's go back to 1 foot, and we'll zoom into this. So we simply come into the tower, and we'll center it, and we'll go in further, and to the point where we've zoomed in pretty darn far. And we'll see here there's a Methodist church over here. We'll zoom into that Methodist church even further. So remember that, and then we'll talk about cnHeat and what it provides. So here we're in about as close as you can go. And you'll notice with the 1 foot SM mounting, so the SM is mounted 1 foot on buildings, or 1 foot off the ground, or even 1 foot on a tree, and that's what the heat map shows. And you'll notice that at this church, which is seen by the tower, that you can see here that this whole side of the church is coverage. But the accuracy that cnHeat provides is you can go 1 foot over the pitch of the roof, and now you no longer have coverage. Or you can go 1 foot, kind of to the side here, a little to the side here, and then you start to obstruct coverage too. So that's what we're showing here is the coverage that's provided with cnHeat and the accuracy. If we look over here to the east, there are some homes, And what we see here is we see this home right here has coverage on the back side of the roof. So if an installer was to come in to install in this home, instead of wasting time everywhere else, going to the back of the roof on the pitch would allow them to actually install in this home. And so there's a little like way through the trees right here. This home right here has got no coverage because it's blocked by the trees, and this home right here has all sorts of coverage all over the house because there's no trees in front. So this is the type of accuracy we're talking about with cnHeat to down to 1 meter. Let's go back to the presentation now. And once again, it's locate your subscriber. So what we're doing is we're trying to locate where the subscriber should go on a home. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is why does cnHeat work compared to other heat mapping tools that are available? Why is cnHeat different? And a key reason for this is we use high resolution GIS data or 1 meter data. So if we look at this data right here onto the right, we get a lot of our data from LiDAR, and this is at 1 meter resolution of the LiDAR. So if you look at this picture, you can see the trees and the details of the trees, and you can even see the building right here. And this is another church, and in the back of the church is like a hall or something. And here's the AP site right here, and you can see this path goes all the way from the AP site to this gymnasium. And if we just show a path profile, you can actually see from the LiDAR, here's the pitch of the first part of the building, the church, and then here's where we're actually going to, and it's a flat roof, which is represented there. And so the accuracy you can see of where there's actually going to be a clutter in the way or a tree in the way is quite pronounced. And that's what's different, is we can see exactly like how high this is going to be, like 120 meters or 122 meters. Now let's go to the next slide. Other solutions, like even our link planner, it doesn't use 1 meter data, it uses 10 meter and 30 meter data. And if we look at 10 meter data here at the same area, here's the same church, but you can't really tell it's a church anymore. You can't really see the specifics of the ground because all the points are being averaged together at 10 meters. And then the height overall, instead of being 120, 122 meters, now we're down below 115 meters. So what's happening is we're losing the resolution of reality, and when you do an RF propagation model, it doesn't really work that well anymore. It makes the environment look friendlier than it is in this example. And this is what leads to like failed truck rolls and inefficiencies in our business. Okay. So if we show cnHeat compared to a competitive product, you can see cnHeat is very accurate, like in the demonstration I showed of where there's coverage exactly on a house. If we compare that same area, which I showed you earlier, to a competitive product, the areas in yellow are false positives, or in yellow are false negatives, and then it's telling you that you don't have coverage when actually you do, and then the areas in red are false positives. And so cnHeat has a high predictability ability, whereas the competitive products, they don't because of the lower resolution data. So this leads to out of 27 homes here, 16 of them wrong, or over half of them are wrong. In cnHeat in the near future, what we're going to be doing is we're going to enhance the heat map that I showed you, and we're going to add the ability, instead of having the view like I showed of 1 foot and 10 feet or 2 different slices, we're going to provide a slider. And this slider will go from 1 to 75 feet. And this way you can keep moving the slider up in height until you get to a height where you can start showing coverage for an actual house or property. And so what this allows you to do is you can find the minimum SM height for a property, and you can find the optimal location of the property where this minimum SM height is. So just as a kind of an example of what that would be, if the slider was at 1 foot, you wouldn't have too much coverage, but you'd see exactly who you could cover, and these would be the places like maybe you would install on a roof of the building. Here, where there's a 10 foot, the sliders are 10 feet, you probably aren't going to install on the buildings anymore, but now you start to show coverages, more coverages on the ground, and it allows you to figure out how to install off of the ground. And then you can keep going up this slider up to 75 feet, and it might be that you start to clear some of these trees at maybe say 30 feet. And so you can tell your potential customer, we can give you service, but it would require an installation of SM on a tower created for like 30 or 33 feet. We just recently released the cnHeat Identify, and it's available in the United States only. So here's a picture of what I showed you on our demo site of the different buildings. You can see right here that in this picture, this home here does not have coverage. This home here does, this one doesn't, and this one does. So the result of our analysis is once we have the heat map, you can tell us how high you'd like to mount off of buildings. And then what we do with that is we come back and we can find all the buildings locations, latitude and longitude, and the associated address from that. And so what we would do is we would provide the locations, latitude and longitude to you. And then the addresses we can then provide to you also, or if you don't want to market and you want to have somebody else market for you, a professional marketing company will provide the addresses to that company. And it's a company we're working with. And that company is Market Broadband, and they can help you to provide the marketing for your homes. Okay, so right now we're running a promotion to celebrate the release of Identify. And if you purchase 4 450Ms or 450 IAPs or EPMP 3000s in Q4, you can receive a 1-year site subscription to cnHeat Locate, the heat map, and you can also receive up to 500 addresses of cnHeat Identify. And so, this is available to the first 100 service providers, and all you do is you go to the Cambium Networks cnHeat site and you make a submission request, and then you have then we'll have your request and we'll fulfill your order. And so, like I said, you'll get 1 year of a heat map of the site of your choice for free, and then you'll get 500 addresses of cnHeat Identify. And we're doing this in partnership with Market Broadband, and they'll also honor you and with the promotion and provide you with discounts on their services. So with regards to the promotion, you'll get 20% off of all your non-postage and cost shipping and handling up to $500. Now let's kind of give an example. Let's give an example of someone who's already using cnHeat. And we're going to go all the way to Australia. Australia in Queensland, it's on the coast, it's quite beautiful there. And they have 10 cnHeat sites, it's Redfox. And what Redfox has done since using cnHeat is the big stat we're showing right here is before cnHeat, it on average took them 4 hours to do an install. And then after cnHeat, the time to do an install decreased by 2 hours. And so what's nice about this is even on successful installs, when you use cnHeat, you know where to go to right away and how to install. And so it makes the whole installation process faster and more efficient. This is an example that your installation time has been cut into half, which means you can do more installs in a day and you can save money in each install. So what Redfox found is they were saving $300 on every failed truck roll. So someone might call them and they can't do service before they go out there and do the failed truck roll. And now they don't have to do it. So they save $300 on that. And then because they're saving 202 hours of installation time and other assorted costs, they're finding that even on successful truck rolls, they're saving $300 per successful truck roll, which means that what happens with Redfox is they get 1 to 2 calls a day from customers requesting service. They're saving $450 a day by using cnHeat on the 10 sites. So if you look at that as being 22 work days in a month, then what they're doing is they're saving well over $10,000 a month by simply using cnHeat. Another advantage that Redbox did that we haven't talked about here is even though they don't have cnHeat identify where we can tell them addresses a target market, they did this on their own. They used the heat map and they cross-referenced it to customers they don't already have, and then they did targeted marketing, and within the first 2 months they found 30 new customers generating revenue for them. And then what they also did is they went through the heat map of failed installs where they tried to install and they couldn't, and they used the heat map to figure out, oh, we didn't try here, and they found 15 more new customers that they couldn't previously serve before. So in 2 months, they've had 45 net new customers on these 10 sites. Another benefit that they're finding is when they talk to customers up front, they can give customers expectations of what it will cost to install. And they might say, oh, it's going to be, a 10-foot pole, which is additional money, and they can let the customer know that up front and get the go ahead in advance. And so their customer satisfaction is improved also. Now let's take a look at a new feature that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and you can even order it now if you want. It's orderable, and it's called cnHeat Optimize. And we call it 2 parts. The first part we call like Tower Finder, and it allows you to do greenfield tower placement based on your SM locations. Okay, so what are the inputs to optimizing your greenfield tower site placement based on SM location? Well, first is, what are the SM locations that you would use to place your tower? And so what you do is you provide us the location. So in this example, the yellow push pins are locations, and there's, I think, 7 of these right here. And what you do is you provide us latitude, longitude, and the height of the SM. Then what you do is you tell us the tower height that you want your tower to be at. So it could be like 150 feet, let's say. And then what you do is you give us your area of interest for placing your tower. So you say, here's the center location where I want to start my tower search. And then I'll go on a radius of some amount, like let's say 8 miles. And you'll search this whole area trying to understand what is the best location to put a tower. Now the output from these inputs is you get a heat map. And this heat map gives you a percentage of the SM coverage at every meter in the area of interest. So remember, cnHeat works per meter. So every meter on this whole place, there's a little color pixel that shows the coverage of how many SMs would be covered. So blue is not so hot, and red is hot, like you're covering a large percentage. So what we're doing here is we're using Tower Finder to use the heat map output to guide you for your location of placing your tower. So let's go back to our demo site, and I'll show you an example of this. Because seeing it in live on the demo site will be much better than trying to explain it only. So I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to turn off this tower, but I'm going to say, hey, let's find a site where we're going to do new greenfield placement of devices. So first, let's go down to here, and I'm going to zoom into this area, and there's a subdivision. And if we look at this subdivision, you can specify up to 255 buildings. And in this subdivision, what's going on is there's a number of buildings we want to cover. So we get all the coverage of the buildings, latitude, longitude, and height, and you provide that all to us. And then what happens, so we zoom in, here's the buildings, right? Then what happens is if we run this Tower Finder, and we do it first at 95 foot, you can see that blue is somewhere around 50% of the buildings are covered, and red is 100%. And you could find that, well, you could have coverage with the 95-foot tower of this neighborhood if you could build in the neighborhood. But that might not be realistic, so you might say, hey, I want to run the analysis again, but this time let's do it at 195 feet. Well, here you can see that you can put towers lots of places for 50% coverage, but now you can go outside of the neighborhood and find a place to install it and get 100% coverage. And here's what we do is we can go straight to the north, and it's a farm. And so what you can say is you can say, I could build up this farm in this area, and I can cover all those homes and make them our paying customers. And so you talk to this farmer, and you could go ahead and get the rights to the land and build the tower. And this is what Optimize is. Okay, now we're going back to the presentation, and simply this next slide is kind of going through what I just showed you, but in a different way, so I'll just repeat it one more time. Here's a small area of interest, and it could be wider than what we just showed. And there's 34 buildings right here. You specify the buildings, and then what we do again is we run the coverage. It's just showing it a different way. And of these 34 buildings here, in this example, because they're so far apart, we can find that the optimal coverage is somewhere around 80%. And here's the 80%. And so you would seem like you would build somewhere in here. Maybe you could build there, but maybe the best place really is to build down here. And then what we also offer is a second part of Optimize called Verify Coverage, and it's really cnHeat Locate. You tell us the location, and at a very cost-reduced price, we can go ahead and do the forward coverage, and you can verify the coverage of that all the SMs are, that you've listed are covered. And then you can also see the coverage for other areas that you didn't have covered by the tower and the benefits of putting the tower there. So real quickly, what we have here is we have pricing for cnHeat today. And you can buy cnHeat, and for a heat map, you pay as little as $12.50 a month for a site. And you can do this in 3 years or in 1 year subscription. And you can pay it either upfront or you can pay it every 3 months if you desire. If you want to buy cnHeat for just 1 month, you can also do that. With let's locate. For cnHeat identifying your customers, we require a 1 year or 3 year subscription, and you can buy addresses, and we like to sell them lots of 100. So you can either have them delivered to yourself for $25 or to the marketing firm for $25. And so it's basically 25 cents an address. And then lastly, I'll have pricing out shortly on the tower identification. But it'll be similar in price. It's somewhere around $250 to figure out where to locate your site. And then we'll offer a very reasonable cost to trying to verify the site, probably somewhere around $80. That'll be out in the near future. So that's the presentation. Angela, do you have anything you want to share or bring up?
Let's get some questions going on. Let's see here. We have one question that's asking, how do I know there is a LiDAR available in my area?
Great. What you could do is simply you can contact me. You can just contact me at daniel.sullivan@cambiumnetworks.com, or go to our website, cambiumnetworks.com, go to the cnHeat webpage, and you can make the request, and we'll get back to you and we'll look that up for you and can tell you that you have the LiDAR.
Okay. And for the addresses, in what order are they selected?
Oh, okay, yes. So with the addresses, say you have a site like Emporia, and there might be thousands of homes there and thousands of addresses that you can provide service to. But maybe you don't want to do them all. Maybe you want to do like the first 500. So what you do is you purchase the 500, and then what we'll give you is we'll give you the ability to, we'll start off at the, it will give you them in the highest RSSI and keep going until you get to the point where you're cutting off. So say you only want to have addresses at -68 dBm or better. We'll start off at the highest ones. They might be at -45 or something. And we'll keep going until you get to the 500 addresses. And so it starts at the highest and it keeps going down. So you might be at like -60 at that point. And so that's where we would start. So it goes from strongest RSSI to weakest RSSI, and we keep going until we complete your order. If you, for some reason, there's not enough addresses to get all of what you want to buy, then we would stop at the cutoff point, which would be -68 dBm at that point.
Great, thank you. Another question just came through. They're asking, are you able to identify CBRS bands currently?
Yeah, we support CBRS band. So we support 5 gig, and typically it's a line of sight. If you have something in the way of the Fresnel zone, we won't show coverage. And we do the same thing in CBRS. We can support the line of sight. In the near future, we are going to extend the line of sight to also include near line of sight and non-line of sight. So that'll be coming, we're hoping somewhere around the end of the first quarter of next year. But yes, you can do CBRS today if you would like us to model that, and we'll give you line of sight, which is Fresnel zone.
Awesome, thank you. And then can I provide exclusion areas for my address, such as places where I have fiber?
Yeah, so if we go back to the example, that site in Emporia, say that like you had the coverage map, but you have fiber to a small area there, then yeah, we can exclude that, and that won't be part of the addresses. So we would exclude that, and we wouldn't find any of the addresses or locations there. So you can definitely tailor the addresses to the specific areas that you desire.
Okay. There's this question. If no LiDAR is available, do you have any other tools available?
If no LiDAR is available, we try not to use other data that is not the 1 meter GIS. And the reason for that is the coverage maps won't be accurate, and you're spending a lot of money and you're not getting much in return. What you can do is we have contacts where we can try to attain private 1 meter GIS data, and we would put you into contact with them so that you could try to get the data that way. It's more expensive than cnHeat, but then it will work, and so we have put customers in touch with GIS providers, so we can do that for you too. Okay, and if you don't have LiDAR, we do have an understanding of where it's coming in the future, so we can track that and let you know that, and then when it comes available, we can also let you know that too.
Got it, thank you. They're asking if you can go back to the slide about the promo, if you can just reiterate that of the current promotion sure. That's going on.
Yep. So this is the promo slide, and actually I got a typo here, I'm sorry, is you purchase 4 450M or 450I APs or APMP 3000s in Q4, and you're entitled to receive a 1-year site subscription to cnHeat Locate. And I got rid of the bullet point. I apologize, everybody. But you also can get up to 500 addresses of cnHeat Identify, assuming that there's that many addresses available from that site. And so we're providing this to the first 100 service providers who are interested. And all you simply do is you go to the website, Cambium Networks, com/product/software/cnHeat, and you make a request. You submit a request to the site, and you'll provide your site information, and just make sure we have your sales information, like your invoice, the POS information, point of sale information. So an invoice is great, and just let us know you're interested. This is identify my customers, and then we'll provide the site for you. So once again, you get the site for free for a year, and then we'll give you the 500 addresses also.
Great, thank you. And we'll end it with just one more question. How long does it take to turn around a cnHeat order?
Typically, it takes about 1 week. It can be quicker than that, and sometimes it can take a little longer than that. But in general, it's about what it takes.
Great. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you, Dan, for being here and making this presentation, and thank you for all the attendees listening in. This webinar is recorded, and we will be sending it out to everybody that attended for later viewing, and we'll also have it posted on our YouTube channel. Any last-minute notes that you wanted to just address real quick, Dan?
No, I just wanted to thank Angela and Matt for hospitality, for inviting me, and also to Streakwave. And I really appreciate everything the Streakwave does for Cambium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.